Hi guys, this week I'll be terraforming the layout. And since the layout planning video, I decided that the frame was not required and upgraded the ply from 9mm to 12mm thick instead. The first thing to do is to transfer the track plan onto the baseboard, and I'm doing this by taping the flexi track into position. This gives the initial idea of where the layout will sit on the board, but it also indicates where I can cut off the corners. In the plan, I showed how I wanted to have curved sides as well, but this would cut the edges too close to the track bed, which is something I don't really want to do for two reasons. The first is when you view the layout, having a bit of scenery in front of the trains gives a more convincing look. And the second is if the train derails, it will land in the bushes and not on your floor. It is an important thing to consider when you're planning your layout, as I see a lot of model railways with track up against a baseboard edge with nothing to stop them falling to their fate. With the track in place, I can now draw around it. I won't bother taping track in to fill the gaps, as I can just sketch these in. Not much can go wrong here, and when the track's laid, I'll have smooth transitions. I also sketched in the station area. Along with the cutting line for the corner. So the corners are now being cut, and this was just done with a jigsaw. The cuts are smoothed off with sandpaper, and that's all that's required for the baseboard work, quick and easy. Onto the terraforming. You'll no doubt now that there are plenty of ways you can do this. Cardboard egg box, chicken wire and paper mache, scrunched up newspaper, but this is my typical method, insulation foam. This stuff is expensive to buy, but I never do. If you find a builder with a skip, they'll throw away massive offcuts, so if you just ask nicely, they'll be more than happy to give it to you. It is also very controllable, as you can keep cutting away bit by bit until you get the shape you need. Plus, you can actually see the landscapes form as you go. This needs to be bonded with a baseboard. Simple PVA does the trick. Plaster it on and spread it evenly over the entire area. The foam can now be placed on and left to set. I like to leave heavy books on top to get a good bond. Now it's dry, I can cut off the excess. I usually use a hot foam cutter for this, but my helper decommissioned it just before I started to film this video. So back to the kitchen knife method. I've turned the layout upside down and I'm using the baseboard as a template for cutting. The corners are also cut off. The track plan is now drawn on top of this foam, as this will be the level of the track bed, but it also shows where the next level of foam can be glued on. The easiest way to get the track printed on is by scribing along the plan with a sharp instrument. I then went over this with a pen. The other important things to draw on here are the road and river, which will help when cutting the foam out. It's actually quite difficult to cut the land to shape without any markings, for guidance. As the landscape on the outside of the track is all sloping down, I can roughly cut this away. I will go over these cuts again later on, when I get to detailing the shape, but for now getting a rough shape helps with the formation. The only area that I'm leaving for now is the station. The platform needs to be built first, so I know how much foam to cut away. Too much and I'll have massive gaps to fill in. The next level of foam is now glued on, this time for the hill in the centre. This is where the drawn-on track bed really helps, as glue and foam over it will be a real pain to clear later. And the track bed wants to be as flat as possible. Again, the heavy books help force the foam together as the glue sets. With the glue hard, the first thing to do with this level is to put the row bed in. And with the road cut out, I can now see the remaining hillside I've got to play with. So the hill on the quarry side will be much steeper than the opposite side, as that's where the slate has been cut away. So I'm cutting it at quite a harsh angle. On this area of the layout, the track is passing over the stream bridge, and around what will be more of a field with a mix of hedgerows and slate fences, and I wanted to have the track on a bit of an embankment here, so I'm cutting the field area slightly lower with a slope down to the stream. So now the sides of the hill have been roughly cut out, it's clear where the final level of foam needs to go. Another day of waiting for the glue to dry and I can get back to hacking foam. Honestly, it might not look like this has taken too long on the video, but each layer of foam needs about 24 hours to set, so it does drag out a little bit. Not that you've got any reason to rush the job. A downside of using the foam for terraforming is the amount of waste. It's very messy. Excluding the big chunks of foam which I keep for other projects, this layout had 2 full bin bags of cut-offs which were no good. Hopefully you can now get a good idea of how the layout will look. And I did want it to be hilly, as the Corris is. And it still needs finalising, but as I mentioned, this is done as I work on each area. So thanks for watching. The videos on this series should get a bit more interesting now as the layout comes to life, especially when the trains get running. So subscribe so you don't miss that. Cheers.